Well, we're going to dive into a few kind of practices, tools, tips that are working for the Solis for the way that their team has been developed. So we're going to kind of blast through these things. We're going to start with communication, which is so important in a team. So tell us a little bit about how that has worked for your team.
Yeah. Well, communication, I think we wanted to talk about first because it really covers a lot of this. Like if we believing, it starts with the belief, if I don't believe that I'm on your team, if I don't believe that when you win, I win, and when you lose, I lose, then you begin to attack, you begin to combat, begin to, in conversation and in communication, use tools that are just weaponized. And I think that is one of the things that God has so generously taught us being in the sport community is that as a coach, I can so quickly see who is the person on the team that's being selfish and how does that affect the greater good and the outcome. And so we address those things really quickly. And so in a marriage, it's no different. I remember it was probably 3 or 4 years in when I tend to be quicker on my feet and a little bit more aggressive. And he is kind and gentle and thoughtful and needs some time and space to think. And so when we would get into more heated conversations, I could win. And I could be abusive in that because I could just kind of pin him in a corner. And there was a moment that, well, the Lord really showed me that I needed to repent. And I really just saw that I had hurt him. I was hurting him. And this man that I love, that I had vowed to be quick to forgive, I was finding ways to win. And God, in his grace, showed me that I'm losing. When I win, and he loses, we lose. And so I think for us, communication, that's the beginning. I would just like to start there.
Yeah, for sure. And just like language matters. It's one of the things that just happens on a daily basis. You don't have to schedule it, but it's like as we change on how we talk about it. And then just seeing, when you have a problem arise, you can see the other person as the problem to solve. Or I guess the picture we got is like, if we can both recognize that as a team, we need to deal with this issue, then we could almost come alongside and then look at the issue out in front of us and like attack that together instead of attacking each other. That was a huge shift in like, hey, I'm for you. I'm on your team. I'm not trying to agitate this thing. Let's get on the same side and let's attack whatever we need to attack. And that just changes the tone of everything. Mm-hmm. It changes the heart behind what we're going
yeah.
through.
We have a common enemy, like as believers, it's like, the enemy wants us to think it's each other, and it's just not. It's not in anything. And so I think that's really important that we believe we're on the same team. We see our common enemy. I would say for me, I've learned to not equate your readiness to communicate with your love for me. Mm-hmm. So I would want it to happen now, always now. And when he wasn't quite ready or hadn't processed, in his wisdom, he's like, we can do it now, but it's going to go poorly. I don't feel equipped. And so I understand you need some time. Even last night, we were having a conversation about laying some things in our life. And it's like, hey, I understand this is a big conversation. I just want you to know I'm going to need to talk about it soon. So go ahead and start processing that. Like I've just learned to kind of give you a little bit of a, hey, this is coming. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to expect it to be great. But it gives him kind of a head start to prepare. And I'm not trying to catch him, on his heels.
Yeah. And the final piece of that would just be using the language Team Soli. We went to a family camp recently, and we even made shirts with Team Soli, and we all had, kind of nicknames on the back, and just having that idea, like as our kids know, like, oh, when I play a sport, I have a role and I have a position, and I'm a valued member of this team. I want them to feel that as much, if not more, on our team, that each kid knows, like, hey, you're all individuals, you all have different roles, different positions, but you're a valued part of this team. Yeah. That can apply to a lot of different things.
Yeah. We also said, speaking to kids, we want our kids to watch us work through hard things. They don't get to see everything. They're not always behind the curtain, but there are many times we're in the van and we're going to talk through things, and they're going to see what it looks like to set the problem in front of us, talk about it. Because if I'm going to expect them to also create a healthy team, they have to know how to do the hard things. And it would be really selfish to not show them that.
Awesome. One of the things I love about what you guys have done, and I don't think I've heard this theme anywhere else, this whole idea of like, we need to be okay losing together. What you said, Caitlin, about like, look, there's no such thing in a family team as one person winning and the other person losing. Either we all win or we all lose. That is such an incredible insight. I think it's so helpful. You can see that on a team when you're coaching a team and you got an individual player who's just like, well, I crushed it, even though we lost the game. It's like
Yeah.
you realize, no, that's not how this works, right? But a lot of people don't apply that to the family. So, man, that's so helpful. I think just getting into that mentality, talking that way,